for so much research related to transportation, we're counting things, whether it's vehicles, pedestrians, bicycles, trains. Maybe we're looking at even individual movements on some of those. So maybe at a highway crossing of railroad tracks and at grade crossing, we may look at the gates and how they are operating. When are they going up and down, and when does the train approach? So a lot of times we are both counting things, and also the relative time can also be important. So this is a timestamp macro, a very pretty basic one that will just allow you to use keystrokes and then see the time between those events. And this can be helpful in a variety of areas. So this is I'll move into the how to use this and how to apply it. It is a macro enabled Excel workbook. And we have certain keys that are enabled. So the idea is you'd have some buttons on your left hand and some buttons from your right hand that are denoting when there's an event, when an event occurs. And so this is what's actually enabled. So you can only use these keys. And the idea is you would define these keys with certain definitions. So maybe Q is a truck, and W is a car, and E is a pedestrian, and R is a bicycle, whatever combination you may use. It is important to print this out or have a sticky note that you end up putting up on your screen so that you know these definitions and you're pushing the right keys to indicate the right activities. Again, it could be even something like Q is when someone boarded a bus, W is when the door closed, E is when the bus leaves, R is when the next one arrives. You could think of multiple ways that you could use this for counting and for the time of various things. So the macro itself is on this worksheet. Again, very, very basic. If you're looking to bend things or make sure that you have some designation of time, you could also use this in shorter increments. So if you, for instance, wanted to count an intersection in 15-minute intervals, you may set an alarm or a timer on another app or on your cell phone to alert you when that 15 minutes has elapsed. But we'll see the timestamp will also give you those times as well. So it's based on the time on your computer, not the time of the event. So if you're watching a video or you're watching something in real time, it's going to be based on that time on your computer. And that's what kind of shows up here in this system time. So you simply hit start recording, and then you're going to go over into cell A13, and you're going to use those buttons that we saw previously. So you'll start, if maybe truck was D, you're going to push the D key, and it's going to do a timestamp. And then maybe you saw a bicycle was A, and so it's going to record the time there. And then maybe another vehicle, and another vehicle came shortly thereafter. Then a bicycle, and this is going to return to the next row. Another bicycle, another one. Maybe you've got a pedestrian, whatever it may be. It's both recording those, and then you can use this data to count up those events if you're simply looking for a count of those activities that occurred, or if you want to know the time between them, especially if it's something I mentioned, the gate, the arms of the gates at a railroad crossing. When did it start coming down? When was it fully deployed? When did the train arrive? Those are all things that you may want to know the specific time between each of those. So it's 8 seconds for the gates to deploy, or in the instance of a transit stop, how long did it take for between the doors opening and then people loading and boarding and then to close again. So you may want to know the time between those events, and this would be a good tool to use to then go back and calculate the time between those events instead of just using a stopwatch. This is essentially a more sophisticated stopwatch that allows you to show more events. And then when you're done, you can hit stop recording. And usually what we'll do is we'll take this event and timestamp data, put it in a different Excel sheet, and then do our analysis with it afterwards.